Hello, welcome to the pre-show. Gert and Brent here. We're searching for Queen Karula and the Cubs. I'm pretty sure, or I'm hoping, that they weren't overly famished and they finished that whole... there we go, this is where I came out. Haven't finished that whole baby impala. It's probable that they have, but we're going to go check where we left them last night just in case. But if they have finished that baby impala, back to tracking for us. Karula chose the worst two blocks, the areas between the roads, to take us through yesterday, and we had a fun time keeping up with her in the thickets, but keep up with her we did. Only managed to get about 9 new puncture marks in my hands and legs from all the thorns. But at least the first tree we're driving through this morning is a quarry tree. The only thing that might attack us out of that is a hairy caterpillar. Okay. Oh dear. Said that kill was in an almost impenetrable wall of pushed down knob thorn trees. The kill was just here. As I said, that it was a baby impala, so likelihood they've moved on. Hopefully not. Well, I'm not seeing any sign of a leopard just yet. This is where they were. And there we go. All that's left is a little bit of stomach content over there. And some fluff. That's it. I'm just making sure the cubs weren't left here while Karula went hunting again. So, or they might have put it in a tree. Not too many decent trees around. Or for stashing kills at least. Let's keep moving. Yeah, kitty. Yeah, I think the kitties are going to give us some work this morning, as it looks like they are definitely not in residence. I'm just checking some of the bigger trees. Oh, there she is. Oh, is that Hasana? There's one leopard there next to that tree. Oh, other tree. He's climbing it to the right. Come across. There we go. So it looks like Karula has left the cubs in this area. There's Hasana playing the fool. Let's get a bit closer now. Where is young Shongile? No, obviously, I think... Oh, I can see, is that Karula lying on the base? I think they're all here. What a pleasant surprise. I was not expecting that. I'm going to try and get a bit closer. Bye! Let's go see what Byron's got.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful, clear morning, and we've just found these two lions, male and female, perhaps a mating pair, not far from camp. Isn't that fantastic? Welcome. This is Safari Live.
Ready?
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is VM. We've got Brent and Gert on the other vehicle, and a little bit later, Jamie will head out on her bushwalk with Jandre. Now, we are very, very fortunate. We found, looks like a mating pair of lions, not far from camp. And also, let's not forget the ladies, Rebecca and Jerry, in final control this morning, also with us. It's a great, great morning of clear skies, as I mentioned, and you could see that earlier as we started. And we haven't had clear morning skies for quite some time. It's been overcast quite a lot, but the temperature is very cool because of that. It's about 17 degrees Celsius or about 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is much cooler than we are used to. A lovely, cool morning. And these lions appear to be very, very sleepy. Isn't that amazing, though? How affectionate they are. The male just resting his head on the female. Now, we've been hearing lions calling all night and not far from camp. I do think there are possibly other lions around, and we're going to try and find them this morning. But we bumped into these two, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did call at some point during the course of the evening. But I do think there might be others around. What a great start to the morning. And I think possibly because it's a bit cooler, that's why they're lying right next to each other and almost on top of one another, and resting because they've been so active during the night. I'm sure a little bit later they'll probably get up and start moving. Don't forget, everyone, we are completely live, so those of you who want to comment and send us your questions, you can do so via Twitter, either at hashtag #SafariLive, or email us questions@wildearth.tv, and we'll gladly answer your questions, and we love hearing from all our viewers. And I'm trying to think now, I'm contemplating what our plan for the morning is going to be. We're fortunate to find these lions very early, but I think we may leave them very shortly because they're not doing too much. They seem to be resting, and see if we can't find some of the other lions that were calling last night, and perhaps go and check that hippo carcass where all the hyena were yesterday. But while we do that, let's head over to Brent, and he has got some leopards for you.
Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. There is Hasana/the clown. He is behaving like a buffoon this morning, nearly falling out of every tree. There's young Shongile. Now, fortunately, Hasana, you're not being very, very graceful this morning in your descent of the tree. Oh, that was a bit better. Oh, sister's hissing. So we are lucky there is a little bit of meat left. I wasn't expecting there to be. And there's little Shongile. So it looks a bit bigger than a newborn impala, probably one of last year's babies. And Karula is just behind the bush, hiding. And good morning, my name is Brent Smith. I've got Gert on camera with me today, and isn't this wonderful? Before the sun has started, sun has started, the sun never stops. pardon me, before the sun has risen, we've got lions and leopards live here in the African bush. Remember, this is 100% live, so this little leopardess is enjoying her breakfast while we sit mere feet from her, and you can ask us questions by using the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, or you can send us an email to questions@wildearth.tv. What a wonderful way to start the morning, and there isn't much left, but while there is meat, and while it's cool, and Hassan is likely to play the fool, oh, I can rhyme, we're going to sit right here and enjoy the spectacular morning. Now, as the sun rises, hopefully we'll get some incredible light on these leopards. So those screenshot fanatics, a bit of patience, and you could get that Golden Light award-winning leopard shot. Remember to share all your screenshots on Twitter with the hashtag safariLIVE, or pop them on Facebook on the Safari Live Facebook page, or share them on one of the many numerous groups that our incredible viewers have started. Yes, there's not much there, little Shongi. At least you had a squirrel snack as well yesterday. So as we've said, they've probably killed quite a few small things, but yesterday was the first time we got to witness it live. Young Hosanna dashed after a squirrel, caught it, let it go, and Shongile finished the job and ate half of it before deciding she doesn't like the taste of squirrels. Michael says it's unbelievable how much they've grown. They don't look like cubs anymore. They look like true, proper leopards. Yes, well, they are just under 10 months now. And what's the date today? Do you know? 28th. And so 29th, 30th. It's 4 days till their 10-month birthday. And look at little Hasana hiding behind the Ziziphus thicket. And little Shongile is plucking the fur like a pro this morning. No, I'm not sure there's much use in plucking the fur. There's not much meat left there. But I suppose practice makes perfect. Well, as lovely and fluffy as leopards look, Donna's wondering, is their fur soft or coarse? Well, I'd say it's in between. Their belly fur is quite soft and fluffy, and their fur on their back is relatively coarse. See, there's the soft and fluffy belly, but not nearly as soft and fluffy as a domestic cat, for example. Oh, she looks like she's having much fun. As I said, I'm not sure what point there is to plucking that fur. There's pretty much only skin left on that impala. What have you heard? What have you seen? Oh, wait, what's that? Lions calling in the distance, that's what they've heard. Quite far away, though. Not the lions that are with Byron, they're other lions calling to the east. Oh, sorry, just got to be on the... Oh, no, Byron's got it. So I heard a question there. Sorry I didn't catch the name. The Game Drive channel was making lots of noise. But Lindsay, there we go. So Lindsay was wondering, why do female leopard cubs gain independence at a younger age than males? Ooh, Lindsay, now that's a question. It's got a relatively complex answer, but let's just see if we can see what Karula's up to. and see if we can get a position where we can, oopsie. Let's see, there's Karula. She's got some of the carcass, not much. Good morning, Queen Karules. Here we go. Oh, we got 2 of them from here. Now, Lindsay, now that we're into a better spot, we can discuss why do female leopards become independent at a young age. Where are you going now, madam? Just looking for a more comfortable spot to rest. Of course, it's where her face is obscured by buffalo thorn. Any big trees behind us? No. There we go. And so, Lindsay, there we go. Oh, our camera's having a mind of its own this morning. I think if you zoom all the way out and then in again. Okay, there we go. Aha. So, Lindsay, it's very interesting. So, for a female leopard, her best chance at spreading her genetic line comes through the males. So, they tend to spend more time with the males and look after the males slightly better. Now, with a female, and depending on the leopard densities of an area, Karula, in this case, will probably pass over a core section of her territory to a Shongile, and what that means is she's probably not going to have to fight when she's very young, so she can get started with the business of marking out her own territory. And you often find that a female leopard and an adult female leopard will be surrounded by her female offspring, and as she gets older, her territory gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and towards the end of their life, when they're quite old, they live in very small territories, but normally surrounded by female offspring. Of course, it all depends on competition. It's not a definite fact of law, but it generally works that way. Whereas with a male leopard, she'll spend more time raising it. He will obviously move away from his natal territory, and he'll be able to spread her genes far and wide with lots of different females. So he's also got a much tougher start to life, because the female, of course, gives across this little prime section of territory to her female offspring. The males have to go wandering, and it's very dangerous when you wander. You can run into other male leopards that'll try kill you, lions, hyenas, etc. So generally the males need a bit more looking after. They need to be a bit bigger and a bit more developed before they strike out on their own. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here, because we've got a female and a male cub. And sometimes when there's 2 sexes, the female might hang around with mom a little bit longer than she would normally, and that's just because she's still looking after the male. And look at them, the glutton, the fat boy, the clown, the little king, the little prince, Hosanna. Looks like he's tired of falling out of trees this morning. He is going to be a magnificent male leopard. He's already nearly the same size as mom, and he is growing rapidly. Hey, little one. James says Hosanna and Shongile seem very, very tolerant of each other. If they were male cubs, would we be seeing more arguments? I don't think too many more arguments. At this age, the leopards, especially out of the same litter, are very tolerant of each other. They start becoming less tolerant the older they get. So these guys are still under a year old, so still very much in the mom's paws, so they are quite tolerant. And the one thing you will have noticed with the leopards as we watch them, they never feed on the carcass at the same time. Karula will feed, or Hosanna will feed, or Shongile will feed, and that's because they are solitary cats, so they don't really like feeding together, and it'll become more and more apparent the older they get, and the distance between the siblings will increase over the next 6 months. As I said, it's not a hard and fast rule. As soon as you make hard and fast rules out in the African bush, the animals will show you differently. So we make the rules, not them. They didn't read the safari books. They get to make up their own rules. Nice tired kitty. Now, Joanne's wondering how many pounds of meat can Karula and her cubs eat in a day. So if we average out over a month what a female leopard eats, she'll eat between 5 and 6 kilograms of meat a day. I'm trying to do the pound conversion. That's probably about 15 pounds, more or less. No, it's less. There's more. Oh, it's around there. But with the three of them, they'll probably eat 50 pounds a day on average. So keeps Karula very busy. I mean, she only caught this impala yesterday. If it had been her by herself, its impala maybe have lasted 2 nights, but with the 2 hungry scallywags, it hasn't even lasted a night. I mean, it is pretty much done. Shongile and Karula are literally trying to extricate the dregs of this carcass. There's Karula. She's chewing on what looks to be a leg bone, trying to get to the marrow. Now, if it was an adult impala, she probably wouldn't be able to do that, just because the bone would be too developed. But with a younger impala, yum, 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 bone marrow, good for the bones. Looks like she's enjoying it. I think the lion's roaring in the distance again. Yep, quite far away. You can hear those bones crunching. See, as she gets down towards or up actually towards what we would call the thigh bone, if we had to compare it, and whether it's a bit thick. She might try crack this one open, but I think it could be a bit too thick for her. But here we go, she's going to try. Now, her molars and premolars are like an incredibly strong pair of side cutters. So like a pair of pliers, but I think that bone might be a little bit on the large side for her. And since she's going for the smaller, lower leg bone now. She's just picking little bits of meat that are left on the bone off. And now she's going to try crush it again. She's still very alert to all the sounds around us. Now, I've been very lucky growing up in the bush, and Fuzzman Sparkles would like to know, what is the most fascinating leopard hunt I've ever witnessed? Ooh, that's a good question. I've seen quite a few. I'm just trying to think which one stands out the most. Oh, a couple of, well, in this part of Africa, there was a male leopard called the Campan male. And I watched him grab a baby buffalo out of a herd of 400 and then take that buffalo straight up a tree. I think that's what in this area the most fascinating leopard hunt. One of my favorite leopard hunts that we used to see quite regularly in Botswana. There was a female leopard who fell out of a tree and actually got her leg caught in a fork and damaged it quite badly. So she wasn't really able to hunt big prey, but she used to hunt spring hares, which is basically a cross between a kangaroo and a rat, but quite big, and they hop. And she used to catch 7 or 8 in a night and stash them in trees and just keep catching them, and that's because she wasn't able to catch normal prey. Oh, it looks like Karula's given up on what's left. Okay, well, looks like Karula's finished feeding. We're going to sit here, see what happens next. While we do that, let's go back to Byron, who's gone to check on the retired hippo at Sydney's.
So I've come to have a look in this area. I know yesterday there was some hyena activity, but nothing this morning just yet. Just a lot of vultures and marabou storks all feeding on that hippo. And I'm surprised that there aren't any hyena around at the moment. I would have thought there will be more. But it's always worth having a look, and I wasn't sure if perhaps the Nkuhuma Pride, maybe if they had smelt this or heard all the commotion or followed some of the vultures. They do that occasionally, if they had come to this carcass, but it doesn't appear to be any sign of them. Now, I know that male and female yesterday managed to kill a buffalo, but I'm surprised they moved off. I don't know why they moved off from that area. So what I'm going to do is probably head back into that area. I think it was off Zoe's Road where Jamie had them yesterday, and go and investigate around that buffalo carcass and see if there aren't lions there or perhaps hyena activity around that area. So I think that's our next plan. It's nice to be able to drive around and have a look at different carcasses and hopefully find some animals along the way. But this is very interesting, all these vultures and that down feeding already so early in the morning. No thermals rising yet at all. It's very, very cool, but they obviously very hungry. Look at that vulture sunning its wings, white-backed vulture sunning its wings. Yeah, that's the marabou stork on the left there. It's amazing to watch some of these vultures, how aggressive they get around carcasses. They do attack each other. They run after each other with their feet out and their wings spread. So what they'll do is they'll lift one leg and they try and kick the other vulture. It's very funny to see. But they do get quite aggressive around carcasses. William, you wanted to know, are those swallows flying around? And I think there are a few crossing through the frame of the camera. They are indeed swallows, and I think those are lesser striped swallows. It's difficult to tell. They're very fine. I can't even see them with binoculars. I wouldn't even be able to tell you exactly. Either lesser striped or barn swallows that are flying around there at the moment. Oh, wow. And have a look at this wilde. Up in the dam, the tree on the right-hand side in the dam, there's a fish eagle. But that's a juvenile fish eagle. And I say a juvenile or youngster, it's almost reached full adult plumage, because you can still see some brown speckling around that the white head. Beautiful African fish eagle. Haven't seen one of those in this area for quite some time. So that's a nice little sighting of one. That's great. I'm surprised it's here actually because there's not a lot of water in this dam. Usually the fish eagles do prefer the rivers and bigger dams where there's a lot more water where they can fish. But it might be easy, probably because this dam is drying up, it might be easier for that fish eagle to hunt fish in the water. So perhaps that's why it's there. The lions went quiet, and just before we went out and drive, there was a lot of calling, but they seem to have stopped. So I'm curious. I think they're just very active during the course of the evening and resting now. Maybe we get some more lion audio or lion calls a bit later. William, you wanted to know if those vultures would stay on the ground during the course of the evening with a carcass like that? No, they wouldn't. I've never seen vultures stay on the ground at night. They would be very, very vulnerable, and I've never seen it happen before. The vultures will fly off and roost in the trees, and there's still one or two up in the trees. If you have a look just off to our right, there's one up there. So I'm assuming that most of those vultures would have been sitting up in a tree like that and waited just for the morning sunrise, and then they would have gone down to feed on the carcass. They wouldn't have stayed down there. Anyway, I think what we're going to do is let's head down to that area where that buffalo carcass was yesterday, and let's go and investigate around there, see what's going on. But nice to see feeding activity from these birds on the carcass, so everybody benefits from it, which is a great thing. And I think, why don't we head back to Brent, who's still sitting with those beautiful leopards.
Well, Shongile has given up on what's left of that carcass, but Karula, with her more developed, more powerful jaws, has moved onto the carcass. She can probably get a little bit more out of it than a little Shongile. Hasana, the trouble, is causing trouble on the other side of a little dip. Where are you off to now? He's off to the left there. Where are you off to, mister? And little... there he is. As I said, the sun is rising. We're going to get some fantastic light here in the next 10 minutes or so. Oh, he's coming back. He's stalking his sister. That's a long stalk. I think you're going to get spotted. I can hear the chip chip of Woodland's kingfishers. Oh, he's given up on his stalk. There we go. Now you can see the sun popping up above the eastern horizon, starting to throw some nice light on Karula. And hopefully the cubs get playful soon. But what a way to start the Sunrise Safari. I couldn't think of a place I'd rather be than sitting with these incredible leopards here in the middle of the bush, quite far from any road. And it was definitely worth our while following her through the thick bush yesterday to get to this very spot. Here we go, you can see that light coming through. Morning, Roxanne, who's watching on Periscope. Roxanne would like to know, will Hasana, when he's a bit older, fight with his father for territory if they come across each other? Roxanne, so male leopards generally only are able to claim territory when they're quite old, so 5 to 6 years old. By that stage, Hasana will probably be far, far away from where his dad or possible dad lives. Oh, Shongile is cleaning her claws just behind Karula there, just like your domestic cat would. Are you going to go? Oh, I think there's going to be a bit of jumping and running. There we go. She's too smart for you, mister. So as I was saying, Roxanne, he'll probably be multiple territories over. He's not going to be able to even think about having an argument with an adult male till he's 5 or 6 years old. Size is just so different between a young male and an adult male leopard. Ooh, look at that. Stalk me, I'll stalk you. Oh, gotcha. So all these little games, stalking, pouncing, jumping, are all practice for when they get older. Hasana, you got caught. Oh, I wouldn't stalk Mom while she's eating. You might get into trouble. Let's just stick with the little cub for now. There we go. As I said, the cubs are going to be quite playful at the moment. Oh, isn't that sweet? Bite, 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 bite. And you'll notice when leopard cubs play, they're almost silent in comparison to the little lion cubs who make lots of noise. And that's because the lion cubs have the safety of the pride. And quite often when the leopard cubs are playing, excuse me, they've been left by their mothers while their mother's out hunting. So the quieter you are, the better chance of survival. Oh, are we going to try climb the tree? Thinking about it. Also thinking about harassing Mom. Probably not a good idea while she's eating, as I said. There we go. Oh, Karula just hissed and Hosana immediately sat down. Now Judy says she can't see the wow on Karula's face, so if we zoom in tight between her eyes. Now, it needs a bit of imagination, but it's that very big W in between her eyes on her forehead there. So the closer you go, the less it looks like a wow, it seems, but you can see a W. So Judy, if you're on Twitter, I'm sure one of our incredible viewers will actually put up a screenshot with the highlights of the wow for you. I think it's going to be a bit difficult for me while we're sitting next to them to start putting my finger in front of camera. So guys, if you've got one of those shots, I know you do, showing the wow on Karula's forehead, please could you share it so Judy can have a look. Now, you can still see the indentation on Karula's belly. She hasn't managed to get much of this little carcass. The cubs have eaten most of it. So, a strong possibility she'll hunt again today. Ooh, stretching again. Now, Kindness is wondering, do leopards phlegm and grimace like lions? And can both males and females do it? They can, and it is. Both sexes do. Oh, go to the cubs. They're going to charge again, it looks like. Oh, she's going up a tree. There we go. Playtime. Oh, son. That was a very weak attempt at catching your sister. Sorry, Kindness. Yes, they do. All cats do. I mean, even zebra, giraffe, impala, most animals all phlegm and grimace. Well, she's going quite high. You can just see the tree moving from here. It's a very small tree. And just see, look at that, it's incredible. That tree can barely hold her weight, I would say, but she's having a grand old time. Tax also Karula Mampimpana still in the same position, but they've moved out into the open on the southern edge of the Shkova and very active. A firm Karula. Look at that. And it's exactly what we're hoping for in this early morning. Playful leopard cubs. Oh, is Hasana going to try emulate sister? Now, White Lady Erwin said, for us new viewers, what do the cubs' names mean and what language is it in? Oh, here we go. Stalk, stalk, stalk. Just don't stalk your mom while she's eating. You'll get in trouble. So that is little Hasana. Hasana means the little prince or the little chief. Oh, you're going to get snarled at. I told you. Naughty. Don't bother mom while she's eating. Sorry, there we go. That's Hasana, who's quite naughty this morning. And as I said, little prince or little chief. Shongile is the female. And her name means exquisitely beautiful. And the language of origin of those names is Xitsonga, which is the local language spoken in this area. And she is definitely exquisitely beautiful. Is she coming to go pounce on her brother now? Look at the ears go back. Stalk mode. Gets flat to the ground. Oh, she was spotted. That is the nice thing about getting to leopard cubs very early in the morning while it's still cool. They can be very playful, as these two are at the moment. Oh, they spotted something. Oh, have a look where they're looking. No. I can hear some testiculars. Rattling testiculars, rattling away. That seemed to grab their attention for a split second. Oh, having a scratch against the branch. There's little Hosanna. Sorry guys, just got to chat on the Game Drive channel. I'll explain it in a second. Standing by, Tux. Yeah, a little bit. Krula's feeding and the Mampimpans are Dala. Copy, Tux. I think best access is probably going to be from Batalea. You can get through from where you went through yesterday, but they're out on the edge of that sort of open patch on the southern side of the Shkova. Oh, wrestling again. Oh, off they go. Big games this morning. Now, Price is wondering what is the length of a leopard's tail compared to its body. Well, it's actually quite interesting. Sometimes you find leopards that seem to have... Oh, wait, the cubs are on it again. Off they go, charging around. Let's just have a look what they're about to do, because you can see they're in stalk mode. Price, I haven't forgotten about you, don't worry. I will answer your question now. I just want to see what the cubs get up to. What are you two up to? Are you going to carry on chasing each other? Now, Price is wondering what is the sort of proportion compared to body and tail. Oh, she gone up a tree. Oh no, just tackling each other. I just heard that. So it's generally almost exactly the same length as their body, and of course it varies from leopard to leopard. She is going up the tree at the back. Look at her go. Now, there we go. Shongile's. There we go. You got it. Zoom. There she is. Oh, look at that. Showing her agility. Being a little bit lighter than her brother, she is able to get to some smaller branches, and she just seems to be a little bit more nimble than Hosanna. And I'd like to see Hosanna try to stand up there. I think he might fall out. It'd be quite funny. Shongile, don't let me down now. I've said you're the more nimble of the two. And now she's off down. Now, oh, so that's a good spot to have a rest. Yeah, she's coming down. Hosanna is lying in ambush not too far away. So, there he comes. And off they go again. I'm just going to move the vehicle a little bit to where they're playing. We might get a better visual. Just trying to see where to get. How are we behind us there? Any big stumps? So I'm just going to move the car around so we can get a better visual of where the game seems to be at. Okay, I'm just trying to see where's the best spot to position ourselves. Anyway, there they are, and this is where the games have been played mostly. So hopefully we're in the right spot now to see the shenanigans of Shongile and Hasana. Well, it was quite chilly this morning. It's warming up quickly, so I'm just taking off my jacket. Although Kat seems to be immune to the cold. I haven't seen him put a jacket on yet, even though it's been very cold and the windy and the rain. Oh, don't turn your back. Oh, let's pick up a stick. Okay. Now, Alice is wondering whether young Hasana will be able to make the sawing sound yet. Not yet, Alice. And even once he's able to, he's not going to saw again till he's 5 or 6 years old, till he's ready to compete for territory. Shangila giving herself a little bit of a groom. Oh, here we go. Just come a bit wider. Hassan is stalking her. Just stop there. He's about to leap. Okay, he's stalking very slowly. We're just going to stay on Shangile because that's where the action's going to happen. Oh, come on. Oh, you've been spotted. Shangile has now spotted him. Doesn't mean he's not going to pounce still. Ah, he's given up. Decided he was spotted. And it's not so much fun when you're spotted, so he's turned his back now. It is warming up quite quickly, as I said, but hopefully there's still going to be quite a bit of playfulness from these cubs. And what will happen is, once they've Karula's finished that impala carcass, there's a possibility that they might go for a drink at one of the pans. So we're going to stick here. I think Karula might go hunting again. So she might even leave the cubs in this spot while she goes to try and secure another meal. Oh, here we go. Hassan is getting ready to pounce. Now, Lindsay is wondering, Do I think it's possible that Krula kills and catches, or kills and eats things without bringing the cubs? I mean, it is a possibility. There we go. It is a possibility, but I mean, she caught that very small impala, the baby Inyala, baby Duiker, yet she brings the cubs. Maybe she eats the old squirrel or dwarf mongoose while she's away from them, but generally it looks like she does bring them. It does bring them back, the cubs, to most of the sort of larger kills, even the not so large kills. Are you going to get hissed at as well for disturbing Mom while she eats, Shongile? I think you're a bit smarter than your brother. Oh, look, there she goes. Careful, Mom's going to hiss at you. Yeah, see, you're clever. You pretend to jump on Mom, but you don't touch her. It keeps you out of trouble. Having a good sniff of the tree. I actually saw Kruda scent mark that tree yesterday, so maybe she's just smelling Mom's scent mark. Good sniff, sniff. She likes that tree for a good paw clean or claw clean. It's the third time she's scratched on that very tree. Oh, up she goes. Both the cubs will climb trees for fun, up and down, and it's a really good practice. And of course, trees are very important for leopards in a couple of reasons. The most important at this age reason to have good tree climbing ability is to avoid other predators. And we have seen both these cubs scramble up trees to avoid African wild dog. Oh, onto the small little branch, testing her agility. Jump back and down. Aaron says this is a lovely sighting. Well, I think we're about to get another ambush. Aaron, it is indeed a lovely sighting. Beautiful, clear day, and the cub's nice and active and playful. Swat! Look at her lying on her back, paws in the air. She's not done with her games yet, exploring, climbing. Oh, here we go. Look at Asana. Oh, she's turned her back. Do I have the opportunity? Yes, I do. Pounce! Oh no, she heard him coming. Too quick for you. Where are you off to, Troubles? Oh, into the rocks. Oh. Look at that on top of the rock. Now, Chai Connie is wondering, what are the chances of these cubs reaching adulthood now that they've made it this far? Every month they get closer to a year, it gets better and better. So leopard mortality is about 70% in cubs till they get to a year old. And as soon as they get down over a year old, it drops significantly to about 10 or 12%. And then again, male mortality rate rises again when they become independent and nomadic to about 25 or 30%. And then after they've established themselves at 5 or 6 years again, it again drops to very low till they get very old. And male leopards sort of over 13 or 14 years old, mortality rises again to 70%. Females only sort of after 14, 15 does that mortality rise again quite high. Okay. Morning. The mumpimpans are running from that side to the side, that side to the side. They're on top of the rock over there. Sorry, Taxon's just arrived with his guests. I'm just explaining where the leopards are. And they're sitting on top of one of the few rocks we have at Djuma. We don't have too many big rocks on Djuma. I'm quite sure they will head back this way towards Mom shortly. And you can see how incredible the leopard's camouflage there as we zoom out a little bit. They just melt into the bush. Come on guys, come back. Well, as you can see, not much action right now. There's a sleeping leopard on top of a rock. And Karula's nearly finished with what's left of the carcass. There's Karula. I'm going to keep an eye on the cubs in case they come bounding back. Max is wondering, why are leopards so much cleaner than lions when eating? Well, Max, it's because there's no competition. So even though there are 3 leopards here, they all eat separately and they don't feed at the same time. Whereas with lions, it's a bun fight. Get in there, get as much food as possible, as quick as possible, and before the rest of the pride can. So that's the main reason. Oh, the cubs are down and up again. There we go. Come on, come back this way. Just grab grabbing at any little appendage that hangs down. Shongile is grabbing at Hassan's tail or foot. We come a little bit wider and a little bit up. You'll see what they're watching. A little bit to the left. Oh no. There was a Franklin. He suddenly saw the leopards and decided, I'm out of here. Well, here he goes. Here come little Shongile back towards Karula. To the left. She's coming back out into the open. Now, where's her brother? Is he going to stalk? No, he's still sitting on top of the rock. While things have calmed down here slightly, we're not going to go anywhere just yet. And let's go see what Byron's found.
And we found this buffalo carcass from yesterday, everyone. But nothing seems to have fed on it. The lions have moved off. They hardly touched it. It looks like they chewed a little bit around the stomach area, but nothing's touched this carcass, which I'm very surprised about. Other than flies, a lot of flies around. So I wonder, perhaps some vultures might find this carcass during the day. It is a little bit covered though. It's under some guarri trees. So it might be hidden well enough that the vultures won't get to it. But I'm surprised perhaps later during the day or tonight you might get hyena coming through into the area. But no sign of the lions around here. So I'm not sure where the Nkuhuma Pride is. There's some vultures up there. There we go. And the hooded vulture on the left, and on the right is the white-backed vulture. So these vultures will be waiting. So I think they've seen it, they know the carcass is here, so they will come down and feed at some point. And I'm sure with them coming down, other vultures will see them and they will come through and feed on the carcass too. The vultures rely on the outside too, and they follow each other a lot when it comes to finding carcasses. As soon as one comes down, the rest will start following, and they'll all come down to feed. But now it's interesting, this technically isn't that far from where we had the hippo carcass earlier. It's about a kilometer or two away. So I would say that the vultures are feeding there. Well, there are a lot of vultures feeding on that carcass, but the vultures, if they find this, they'll still come through here, and maybe other vultures in the area, like these ones that have been sitting around us. Anyway, I think that's enough of a buffalo carcass. And Queen Truth there, the vultures do indeed have a pecking order when it comes to feeding. What happens is generally it would start with a big lappet-faced vulture, that rather large vulture. Let me show you quickly, hang on. Let me just stop here, I'll get my book out. Sorry, I'm just having a quick look. Here we go. How'd you find all the vultures? What's happened to them here? Oh. Okay, so okay. There we go. So the hierarchy basically goes like this when it comes to feeding. When vultures come down and feed, if these vultures are around, these big lappet-faced vultures would feed first. They do chase the other vultures away. So in this area, the lappet-face does get to feed first if it comes to a carcass. The white-headed vulture is quite large too, and that would most likely also get to feed before some of the other smaller vultures. Then the white-backed vulture, who we see a lot of them, so they do get to feed on a lot of the carcass before some of the other smaller vultures. However, they would feed about the same time as, and let me just show you here, as this hooded vulture. And then we saw that hooded vulture sitting with the lappet-faced vulture. So that little one over there. So these ones, interestingly enough, the hooded vultures are often the vultures that get to the carcass first, and when they feed on it, well, they try to feed on it before the larger vultures get there, because as soon as the bigger vultures come in, they generally get pushed off. So it'll be lappet-faced, and then most likely white-backed vultures, and then hooded vultures, if they are all at the carcass together. And again, that's just in this area. Obviously, in other parts of South Africa, where the different vultures occur, it could be a different hierarchy when it comes to feeding. Alright, now I know Jamie had Tingana in this area yesterday, and I'm going to try and see if I can find that male leopard, because we haven't had any further sign of the lions. It would be wonderful to see a male leopard this morning. I know Brent has had an amazing sighting with Karula and her cubs, a beautiful female and her cubs. And that is, it's a very, very special sighting to be able to see leopards so active and playful. And I know yesterday too, those little cubs chasing a squirrel, and the one youngster being able to catch and kill a squirrel, and that's all a learning process for it, of hunting and how to be stealthy and agile. And I mean, it's not easy to catch a squirrel, so that's an incredible feat in itself. I'm just having a careful look around this area, see if I don't see any tracks of a leopard. I'll try and head into that last position, perhaps where they had him yesterday, and we can just have a look around there and see if we can find him. It's starting to warm up a little bit. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. Clear blue skies. It's wonderful. Really, really, really great. Sally, I agree with you. You know, we haven't seen elephant or giraffe for quite some time in the area, not like we were seeing a few weeks ago. And I think all that's happened is because the rainfall has increased around these areas, and sorry, I'm just trying to have a look around here to see if I see any vehicle tracks going off anywhere. So, Sally, I think because the rainfall's increased, there's a lot of food and vegetation all over. So these animals don't need to just stay in the area like they were doing a while ago, because they were looking for, or they can look for food elsewhere now. And I think that's all that's happened, is caused them to spread out and move around a lot more. Because we definitely have not seen, I've hardly seen elephant in this period of time that I've been at Safari Live, the last 2.5 weeks. And I miss the elephant. I do. I love seeing them. It seems to be fairly quiet to this side too. Jamie, all the way from Canada. Good morning to you, Jamie, from South Africa. And Jamie, you wanted to know about crocodiles or alligators. Now, we don't have alligators in Africa at all. We only have crocodiles, and the Nile crocodile to be exact. And we don't really have crocodiles in this area. We don't have enough permanent water to have big crocodiles. But I say this area, this is just the Juma area where we operate. Just south of us though, Jamie, and probably 5 kilometers, there's a big river called the Sand River, and in there are plenty of crocodiles. There are crocodiles in the Kruger area, many crocodiles, but they prefer big dams or more permanent water and the rivers. So unfortunately we don't get to see crocodiles on Juma. Can hear a magpie shrike calling, that beautiful long-tailed shrike. Let's see if we can find it quickly. Can you see? Right at the top, there we go. There he is. That beautiful magpie shrike. Can hear a red-chested cuckoo calling in the distance too. There's some Egyptian geese. Probably a little bit too far, just out of earshot for you, but a lot of birds calling at the moment. It's a lovely morning, so I think there'll be a lot of bird activities early, while it's still fairly cool, and probably a lot of activity. Them trying to feed, maybe catch insects for some of these bird species. One of those birds that love insects are the woodland kingfishers. We know how much we love seeing them. We're starting to see a lot more of them now. More of them arriving for the summer. Just having a careful scan around. It's, even though we're not seeing too much, it's still so nice to be out this morning, and it's so peaceful. It's very, very peaceful. It's a wonderful time of the day. There's a little, it's mud wallow just off to the left, but it's completely dry at the moment. But as soon as we get some more rain, this will most likely fill up with water. You'll get a lot of animals coming down and wallowing in the mud. There are a lot of tracks around there: elephant, buffalo, and probably warthogs, and animals will also come and drink from these mud wallows. But you'll find some of those larger animals would love to use that, cover themselves in mud. It helps protect their skin, keep them cool, and also gets rid of a lot of ticks that sit on them. Often what they do, especially buffalo, they'll go wallow in the mud, they'll cake themselves full of the mud, and then as it dries, those ticks then get caught in the mud, and they'll go and they'll rub and scrape up against a tree or a stump, and that will then get rid of some of the ticks that are sitting on them. Dina, you were saying it looks so green and leafy compared to the last time we were here, and it does indeed. I mean, if you have a look just off to our left, you can see the vegetation around here. Very, very green. And that again goes hand in hand with the comment I made earlier about there being a lot more food and vegetation around for these animals, all these herbivores. And it's because there's been a lot more rainfall, so that obviously helps, and the animals are able to move around and find food and water very, very easily. So last time, and it was interesting, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, Juma was very, very green because of the rainfall. We had got some early rainfall, which helped rejuvenate the area quite quickly. And a few kilometers south in other areas, it was still barren, very, very dry. But it seems to have evened out now quite a bit. But we do still need a lot more rain. We haven't had enough rain for the year yet. And hopefully, I mean, there've been predictions say that we're going to get a lot more rain, so hopefully it does happen. I'm sure it will. We've still got a long rainy season ahead of us. When we say rainy season, it's not like monsoon rains. It only rains maybe once every 2 weeks if we're lucky. And you can get those beautiful storms sometimes coming through, and they'll storm and there's thunder and lightning. One evening it passes through, and it just everything, all the little pools and mud wallows fill up, and it's so nice to have a big storm in the bush. So, Jason, the rainy season in the Kruger area is generally from about November to about February, March. Now there's a beautiful little bird calling. Steeling's wren warbler, and I wonder if we can find it. Tiny bird, and it's very difficult to find. I'm sure you can hear it calling. It goes bit of a metallic sound, but they are very difficult to spot. I mean, a small little brown bird with flakes on it, or little flecks on it. I'll show you. And we managed to see one the other day, very briefly. I think Brent got one on the big birding day. Here we go. Steeling's wren warbler at the bottom. Sorry, not. There we go. That little tiny little bird, and it makes such a wonderful sound, and you hear them a lot in this area, but to see them is very, very difficult. I got to see one the other day, and I was trying to think. I don't think I've seen one properly in about 5 years, and I mean, you've got to really go take time and look for them and sit in an area and wait for it to come out and fly out. It's basically the only time you get to see them. James Richard, you say it feels like we haven't seen a living buffalo for a long time. James, you're 100% right, we haven't actually. And again, 3 weeks ago, we had that big herd of buffalo moving through Juma every day, and they've just all disappeared. They've gone into areas where there's other food and water. So yeah, we haven't seen a buffalo, you're right. And I've been doing a lot of the bushwalks lately. And I can't believe how few buffalo we've seen. I can't remember. I think it was a week or two ago was the last time I saw buffalo on foot, or actually on Juma. Not too much wildlife around here at the moment, not even the odd impala. Liz, it does look like the rains, or it does. So hopefully it does pick up a little bit more and we get more rain during the rainy season. We're approaching a drainage line now. And it's always nice to check down in these thicker areas. What bird is up there? Two little glossy starlings. And I think because I'm down in the drainage line, I might be struggling with a bit of comms with the final control, which is a bit tricky. As soon as we dip down a little bit, we can lose him sometimes. I think Brent is still sitting with Karula and her cubs. Let's head back to her. I'm going to stay in this area and look for Tingana.
Not much there. And I don't think their jaws are quite developed enough to break open that skull just yet. But, oh, in comes little Shongile as well. She's just off the front of the vehicle. There we go, right there. Giving the knobthorn a good sniff. You can see the nerves reacting, that little flicker on her skin. And it's to keep the flies off her. Ooh, hiss, hiss, hiss it, sister. My impala head. Now, it's slowed down a bit as it's got warmer here. Hasana just chewing on the remnants of an impala head. Oh, what was that behind us? Franklin? Yes, they've spotted a Franklin behind us. Oh, she's chasing it. But she was spotted. Little Shongi, naughty little one. That Franklin was wise to your ways, Shongile. Now, we've got some great news. Jamie is out on foot. And let's go say good morning. Oh, no, stop. She's gone flat again, sorry. Let's just see. Is she going? The Franklins have spotted her. But she might try. If she goes any further to the back, are you going to lose her? Okay, let me just try swing. Just stay on her. I'm just going to swing the car around a little bit. Is that better? Okay, so she's there. You can just see the Franklin. If you come wide a little bit, there we go. There's the Franklin. There's Shongile. I think the Franklin's aware of her presence. Yes. Definitely aware of her presence. She's given up the stalk. Oh, everything's happening here. Incoming. There's an African Harrier hawk being mobbed. Oh, and it's disappearing. So, well, we're going to keep sitting right here to see what happens next and all the action around the royal family, but it's all slowed down for now. Shongile stopped stalking, and as I said, Jamie's out on foot, so let's go see what her plan for this wonderful, beautiful morning is.
And a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the on-foot portion of this sunset safari. At the moment, Jean-Andre and myself, and Herbert, of course, Herbert, the ever-present guide, tracker, and security detail, who keeps us company on these walks, is with us as well. And at the moment, we're trying to catch up with one of the biggest Nyala herds that I think I've ever seen on Djuma. There's at least 15 of them, from what I could count. I did a brief head count, and they are slowly but surely moving off in this direction, as you can see. There's our tent. That's James's office on one of his office days when he decides he wants to be in there. Little Nyalas, it's okay. Shame. They're all running off. They're running away because we are right next to one of the manager's houses, and there are two dogs behind a fence, very well behaved dogs, but the Nyala can see them and they're not quite sure what to make of them. Am I calling it the sunset safari again? Did I do it again? This is a terrible habit to get into. But a very good morning to all of you. My name is Jamie, and this is the Sunrise Safari. That's what happens in the morning. The sun rises, and I have Jean-Andre on camera with me. And our Nyala have gone. They have vanished off. So this morning we're just going for a stroll. Being on foot is probably one of the best ways of experiencing and finding things in the bush. An African potato. Some kind of tuber. Bushman's grape tuber. Okay. That I did not know. Asking Herbie, because his knowledge of the plant life out here is truly unmatchable. Now this has come from a little bush. I know there's one round here. I know it's around the front of the tent, but I'm looking for one a little bit closer to home. I saw it earlier. Now this is obviously a storage system for a plant known as a Bushman's grape. A really solid tuber. Can you eat this? You can. For medicine. So Herbie says you can eat this particular tuber for medicine. And I imagine that other animals would really enjoy this as well. Probably something like an elephant would dig it up and chew it. And that's probably actually how this one came to be above the surface of the ground. A lot of the plants have these storage structures. You know, it's essentially like a root vegetable. It's essentially a place for them to store their food and to store their water for the dry season. And us having just come through the drought that we've been through, we keep saying that like it's over, but we've had a little bit of rain, so there has been some relief. But us having come through the drought that we've been through, the plants like this would have been invaluable to things such as porcupines and warthogs and elephants and all of the animals capable of digging up such tubers. I thought potato initially because it's got all of these grooves in it, and I bet this one's died because it's been completely disconnected, but I bet that stems would grow from these hollows. I'm almost certain, like a potato. If you leave a potato out in the sun or out in a warm place and it starts to sprout from the eyes, I think this is probably the same principle for this. Oh, look. What are these called again? Oh, goodness, I've just gone back. It's a lousy thing. Like a little wood louse. Fish moth. That's what it is. Not fish moth. Hold on, silverfish. I'm having a blank moment here. It's got the word fish in it. Tiny little thing with these three things protruding out. I think it's called a silverfish. It's called a silverfish. That is what it's called. Tiny little things with lots of legs, and I actually don't know all that much about them. I just know that we see them a lot, and I think they are one of the things responsible. That's why the word fish moth came into my head. They are one of the things that moves around in your clothes, and as a result, you get holes in them. There we go. That was a nice surprise, and that's why the walks are so much fun, because you see all kinds of things. That's a good idea. Now, can't we be civil? You want to know if I can open this up for you to see what is inside. Jean-Andre, can I borrow? Do you have a knife on you?
Several.
You have several knives on you. Yes, you do. You have many knives on you. Sorry, excuse me. I'm just going to borrow. My Leatherman has vanished, which has actually been devastating. I'm going to start carrying the knife again. Right, so let's try not to pull a Steph. Do you mind if I use this one? Let's try not to pull a Steph here and slice my finger open. And remember, kids, whenever you're cutting something, please don't be very, very careful with sharp knives. Always ask for permission and always do it under supervision. I think sometimes we forget that little fact. So there you go. It's very much like a potato. It's like a raw potato. Lots and lots and lots of water. And if I had a little bit of time, I could maybe set it down and cut it, and we could maybe squeeze it out. Although it's very solid, I think it would be almost as difficult as squeezing water out of a potato. Look here, you can see all of the moisture. Can I put it in the sun a little bit for you, Jean? Will that help you? There we go. You can see the moisture glistening. So it has the exact consistency, the exact texture of a raw potato. That is what it feels like, or perhaps a little bit like a raw potato combined with an onion. And it's quite almost soapy. Very much like it feels like very much what your hands feel when you've been peeling potatoes. That slightly slimy feel. I'm not going to eat it because, although Herbert says that it's fine, I'll try and eat it. It tastes a little bit like raw potato as well, to be honest. A little bit glassy, slightly unpleasant texture. I'm slightly uncomfortable with Jean with his knife pointing straight at him. I'm just going to pop that down next to my side. Had it drummed into me since I was a kid. You never point a knife at someone. Cool. So there you go. The African bushman's grape. Let me just see. I saw one of these plants earlier. Bear with me one moment. I'll just keep this in my hand for now. I saw a bushman's grape earlier. And I think, is there one around there? I think there's one either around the front of the tent or there's one just around the corner here. We'll go and find a bushman's grape and you'll get an idea. Oh, I know where it is. Get an idea as to what the plant is that this tuber has come from. Where is it? Oh, it's all the way back at the DRC, the one that I'm thinking of. And we'll keep going, we'll keep walking through this drainage line and up the other side, and then we'll find the bushman's grape. And I'll just clutch. Nice knife, by the way, Jean. He's very sharp. This is not bushman's grape. These are all little bush willows. Let's keep walking. We'll find the bushman's grape. Should find one on the other side. Michael, you wanted to know if I ever went back to the cup of water that I buried. It's sitting outside the DRC. It's unfortunately the goblet, the bushwalk goblet, which is made from a marula. It's basically a marula capsule. And the bushwalk goblet is not 100% waterproof, so at least it doesn't completely hold water. So whilst it works for a quick drink, it doesn't necessarily work as a storage system. So what Michael's talking about is where Herbie showed me this entire ritual that is done between sangomas and those training to be a sangoma, which is a traditional, basically like a witch doctor, essentially. I nearly tripped over that. And essentially what they do is they will, as part of the training ritual, they soak leaves of a certain plant known as a gardenia, and they leave it for two or so days, and then they beat it with the branch from a gardenia into a foam. It forms a foamy paste, and then the trainees will eat that paste, or the foam from that, as a way of, and it's very, very symbolically done, as a way of connecting themselves to the ancestors of the guy who's training them, the person who's training them. That shouldn't be there. Somebody's binocular case, I would say. If I had to guess, probably one of ours. I'll just keep that with me. And no, unfortunately, it is back. We did collect it, but unfortunately, it didn't quite hold the water that it was meant to. I'm looking to see if I can't find the bushman's grape, but since there isn't one immediately obvious, I'm going to keep searching. In the meantime, let's go across to Brent and his playful leopards.
There we go. Hasana and Shongila have found some of the few big rocks we have on Djuma, and they're having games starting again. Hasana is perched atop the rock like the little prince he is. Shongili tried to, what's he spotted? Dispose him, but failed. He kept, I suppose they're playing King of the Castle. He spotted a Franklin again, but that Franklin is well aware that he is there. They normally have more success with Franklin and sort of dusk and dawn when Franklin is still sort of waking up or going to sleep. Now he's abandoned his king of the castle. Oh, is Shongile going to take his spot or follow him through the crevice? Off she goes! So wonderful. He's turned around to face his attacker. Will he turn the tables on young Shongile? Now, as I say, as it gets warmer, they are going to start slowing down a little bit. But while there's still fun to be had, we will not be going anywhere. Oh, there we go. Karula's coming. Look at her flat on the rock. Her mom is approaching. Oh, she can't see her mom. There we go. Hello. Oh, cubs. Give you a hard time. Good snarl sorts them out. Anyway, Shongile is now the king of the castle, but here comes Hosanna, and off they go. Back to Mom. I think our best spot is going to be about 3 meters back. Oh, wait, they're going. Action happening again. Let's just wait to see what happens. Just move back slightly. Oh. They are loving this rock. Oh, look at that. Okay. How's that? Is that good? We got all 3? There we go. In the right spot now. Now, in Ross, who's a brand new viewer, welcome to Safari Live, is wondering how much of these games will be valuable in the future. It's all practice, so what's played now will be important when it comes to hunting when they're older. And oh, look at that! Hunting, protecting themselves, avoiding other predators. All this agility and skill will be very, very important as they get older. Big games. Isn't this just too special to be able to spend this time with these incredible cats? And as they get older, the bond between brother and sister is going to get... Oh, and there's playing with Mom. Mom's still just trying to give herself a bath, and these youngsters just pouncing up and down and all around. Now they have finished that impala, so it's possible they might get on the move, might head towards a waterhole for a drink. Oh, hello, Ma. Hi, Anne. Anne's wondering, what is the most common cause for an aged leopard's death? Anne, it's generally other leopards. Other leopards or hyenas or lions, it's other predators. There's very few animals that live out here in the African bush that ever make it to old age. They normally get killed by something else. And just too special to spend these moments with these incredible cats. Now that the food's finished, it's playtime. Look at that. That's just too... Oh, Mom's getting a little bit over it. A bit of hissing there. Enough now, little one. I'm really interested to see if they decide to move. I'm just trying to think where the closest water hole is. Right, everything's calmed down a little bit here. So while it is a little bit calm, let's go see what Jamie's found up in a tree.
I have found a squirrel and a black-headed oriole. Two of them making a great deal of noise this morning. The squirrel's gone quiet and has now, in fact, disappeared. The black-headed oriole is whistling away his merry tune first thing in the morning, and that's why it's so incredibly pleasant to be out here on foot on these sorts of mornings. It's bright, it's fresh, it's clear, there's a gentle, cool breeze to keep us happy, and the oriole is whistling. My whistling's not working this morning. No, my whistling ability is gone. My lips are obviously too dry. But it was, of course, in fact, I can't look at the black-headed oriole and I can't look at the squirrels of this area without immediately thinking about Sam. Sam, of course, was one of the presenters at Wild Earth. He loved black-headed orioles. He was very excited to see one when he first arrived back in the bush, which was with us. And the squirrel, of course, because of the infamous positive squirrel, Monty. Was his name Monty? I think it was Monty. It was Monty the positive squirrel. Now, our little squirrel that was living somewhere in this marula tree up here, our little squirrel up there, was not such a positive squirrel, because as we were walking along, a grey duiker came shooting out of the bushes next to us, giving us a little bit of, not a fright, just a surprise. And the squirrel immediately started alarm calling, just on the basis that maybe there was something worth alarm calling at. And started going choo, 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 just for no apparent reason. But it did draw attention to this amazing marula tree that we're looking at now. And I wanted to show you because we've been speaking a lot about ground hornbills, which is a massive type of bird. And we have actually seen them relatively often on our drives, which is a wonderful thing because they are very critically endangered birds. And one thing I've learned, which is contrary to what all of the textbooks will tell you, is that black hornbills, large ground hornbills, really like marula trees to nest in. Now this one I don't think would be an ideal nesting site, but it does give us a nice example of a spot that they might have chosen for a nest, which will be wherever there's a dead limb. And this could even be a sacrificial limb. So a sacrificial limb occurs where the tree draws in all of its nutrients. It can't support itself. If something's happened to it, it's struggling. It puts all of its toxins into that limb. It takes away all of the nutrients. It cuts off the nutrients, and that branch dies and falls off. And this branch is about to do just that. And in fact, there is something wrong with this marula. It's not a healthy marula. both the main stem and this branch are also dying off. But it would make the perfect nest site for a ground hornbill. All of the textbooks say it will be something like a jackalberry or a leadwood tree, but the ground hornbill nests that I have found, most of them have been in marula trees. So there you go. It's an interesting little fact about them. I think it's because the wood is soft, so it forms a really nice nest site for them straight away. Whereas with leadwood, something like that, a hollow in a leadwood tree, and in fact in a jackalberry tree, which is also known as the African ebony tree, both of those trees are very hard wood. So it takes a long time for a hollow to form within them, at least a hollow big enough capable of supporting a bird that is essentially this big. They're big, solid birds. Yesterday, Brent and I were on Buffelshoek, and we happened to see a massive ground hornbill nest in the most open nest I have ever seen. It was fascinating. Usually they're in very, very small holes in the trees, only just big enough for the female ground hornbill to nest in. And in this particular case, she was nesting right out in the open. So the first thing that we did, of course, is report to the Sabi Sand management, and we'll record it for Panthera as well. So one of the things that we help them to do is to keep track of the various hornbill nests. And the female was sitting in it, so I don't know, she might only just have laid her eggs, so I'm not sure that she's going to be out anytime soon. The eggs haven't hatched yet. But it just goes to show that hornbills, like all the other animals out here, don't read the textbooks, and they nest. That Oriole, we nearly walked right into him. He was sitting right there, and I just didn't see him, and he gave a sharp whistle, and off he went. So we're heading into one of the lion's favorite areas, and we might have been a bit more reticent to go in here over the last few days, but we're heading into one of the lion's favorite areas. We know they're on Simbambili, we know they're on a kill, and we're not too worried about them popping out where we least expect them. Although the Inkahumas have always been very pleasant lions to walk on foot. I've walked them several times and come relatively close to them, and they've always been, you know, as long as you're 100 or so meters, just over 100 yards away from them, they're actually not a problem at all. They look at you and they sort of move off a little bit, and then they stop and they watch you just to make sure you're not creeping up on them. But as long as you keep your body language right, and you don't, one of the big mistakes people often make is the lion's seen them on foot and they start to whisper. They start speaking softly, and it's fine to speak softly. If you start whispering and not making any noise, the lion thinks you're up to something, and they actually start to get insecure. So that's when we do what's known as presenting ourselves. So just making sure, okay, we've seen you. And the only time we really walk the Nkuhumas is when we're tracking them. Once we've found them, you stop, you see them, you go straight back out and go and fetch the vehicle. But I have had some very pleasant sightings with lions on foot. I've had some surprise moments with lions on foot that Herbert, I think, summed up perfectly when he said the bushes were angry this morning. In other words, there were sounds like Harley Davidson erupting from the bushes. I'm still looking for the famous Bushman's grape. I can't believe I haven't found you one. The one that the tuber came from. Oh, we're about to go through a nest of thorns. I think we need to go this way, Jean-Andre. Lots and lots of these calf hooking black thorns that will grab you and hook themselves into you. Okay, we're going into a thick area now, and Andre's going. So Heads Up wants to know if we stumble upon some thorny trees or plants that might be good for the making of a shelter, whether or not I could show you. These are not bad. This was a knob thorn that has now fallen down. What you really need to go for, though, this will form a nice impenetrable thicket to sort of build up the wall that you want to make around you. And of course, that's what people used to do when they first arrived in these areas. I mean, people with cattle, that is. Obviously, there have been people here for thousands and thousands of years. But when the fur trekkers and so on arrived with cattle and they wanted to protect them from the lions, what they would do is they would build what we call a kraal every night, which is made of trees. This would be a nice, this knob thorn, because it's got these very sharp hooked thorns and nothing really wants to walk through it. It'd be a nice base for the kraal, but it's not going to be enough to stop something like a hungry lion if it wants to get to your cattle. And I will find you the very appropriate one. And it's not just to protect yourself when you're camping. One of the biggest uses that we see now for use of thorn trees as protection is around airplane wheels. For some reason, they do it, hyenas do it as well, but not as often. For some reason, there is something about the wheel of an airplane that's been left on an airstrip that they just want to go and flatten. They want to go and chew it, and elephants have done it. Rhino have done it as well. They go and they stick their tusks or their horns, in the case of rhino, through the wheels of the tires of the airplane. So we'll look for plants. There's a particular tree called a sickle bush that I'm going to look for, that I'll show you, that works very, very well in that sense. And the nice thing about it is you can actually cut it down because it's a bush encroacher. So you can, without damaging the environment at all, you can actually take out a couple of sickle bushes and not do any lasting damage to the environment. So there you go. I'll keep an eye out for them. We're not in exactly the right area. We will be moving into the right area to find a sickle bush, but I'll let you know. So while we move off into some dense vegetation, it seems as though Byron has found a creature that would love to hide in some.
So we have found another carcass. Looks like a small antelope that's up in a tree. But because it's up in a tree, we know that it's been put there by this beautiful animal. We've managed to find this wonderful big male leopard. And this appears to be Tingana. Wonderful big male, and I know Jamie was in this area yesterday and he hasn't moved too far. It looks like he's finished this carcass. There's very little left of it, but he has found a perfect spot to rest. He's got a big belly. Look how full that belly is. He's fed on a lot, and he's lying in the cool shade of this drainage line where we are at the moment. I'm so glad though that we've got signal down here that we can show him to you. And this is so wonderful. I haven't been able to sit with a leopard in a drainage line for quite some time. I haven't seen one for a while. And for him to be so out in the open and relaxed with us being around, it's really, really fortunate. Oh, look at that. I think the flies are bothering him. There are a lot of flies around here at the moment. And I think that's what's bothering him, exactly that. It's not good. I'm hoping they don't bother him too much that may cause him to move off. I hope he decides to stay here for a while. No, I'm not happy about the flies at all. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful male. You can see that big dewlap under his throat there. And very thick neck. Breathing quite heavily, and the only reason is probably because he's full. And sometimes these big cats, when they feed a lot, their bellies get very, very full, and then they breathe heavily. There's lovely dappled light on him at the moment, and I mean, they do blend in very well with their camouflage in this dappled light, but there's a bit of sun coming through just on his face. I think for photography this would be a wonderful, wonderful photographic opportunity. It's a red-chested cuckoo calling behind us at the moment. You can hear that. And I know a lot of you are sending your comments in on how full this male leopard is, and he is indeed very, very full. Now it just shows you how large this male's territory is. I mean, you know, from where I've seen this male leopard to where he is now, and just the bits and pieces I've heard of where he's moving, he's got a very large territory. He's a very successful territorial male. And it's nice to see a big male like this moving around in so many different areas. Now, Cindy, you wanted to find out if it's a possibility to gauge his age, judging by his size. It is, to an extent. But generally, a male leopard will probably reach I'd say it will reach full-grown size at about maybe 5 or 6 years old. I would say, look, maybe when he gets to about 8, he'll probably be in his prime. So it can be a way perhaps to try and gauge the size, but the age, but I don't think it'll be very accurate. What you could potentially look at too is, and this is quite interesting, but occasionally with the ears, and you'll see the older the leopards get, the tips of their ears do get to be a little bit frayed and worn down. Listen, everybody, listen, just off to our left. Sounds like a nyala, alarm calling. Now, I wonder if they didn't walk and see Tingana, but look how it's got his attention, because he wants to know now, what are they all alarm calling at? Is there another leopard in this area that's come to investigate here? Or did they see him, or did they perhaps just smell him? I'm not sure. It's very, very thick over there. I can't see the nyala at all. I can't see what they have alarm called at. But you can hear they're giving quite a distinct bark. Very interesting. I'm going to keep scanning there, but look how Tingana's watching. This male leopard's very curious. Now, why are these Inyala alarm calling? Can't see anything, and they seem to have stopped. I wouldn't be surprised if they just walked through and potentially saw this male leopard lying on the sand. An alarm called at him and ran off. It's amazing how different antelope have different alarm calls, and that bark of the nyala is very distinct. Very easily recognizable. The other antelope, of course, with loud barks, 2 of them in fact, the kudu in this area, very loud bark though, much louder than what we just heard, and then the bushbuck. Hang on. What is it? I can see the tail of an inyala, and I think it's very thick through there, everyone. I don't think you're going to really get a good view, but I see the tail flicking of an inyala, and I think all that happened was they spotted this male leopard lying in the sand here, because they seem to be standing there, and usually what they do, and with these antelope, if they do see a predator, they prefer to keep an eye on it. Then the animal can't, whichever predator it is, it loses that element of surprise or the ability to ambush them. So as long as they keep an eye on it, they know where it is, they're not too worried, and they can get away quickly if they have to. You can probably hear all the flies around us at the moment because of that carcass. Oh, it's starting to warm up nicely now. The sun is on us. Oh, look at those eyes. Really, really special to be able to get so close to a male leopard and spend time with him like this. We know how elusive these cats are, but we've been lucky. I mean, with Karula and her cubs, and now this big male leopard. And I'm curious now. Is Tingana, is he the father of Karula's cubs? Supposedly, who knows? I don't know. Fium says, who knows which way the wind blows out here. You never know. I mean, I'm not sure if any of our viewers got to see them mating. It would be interesting to know. So if you do know, or if you do have an idea, please let me know. I'm curious. I mean, it would make sense if he is the father, because he's the dominant male in this area. But in saying that, there's a beautiful bird, Viam, if you want to just have a look. The top of that branch, where those bulbuls were flying earlier, you might see it, that white bird up a little bit further, up. No, up.
Oh, okay, got it.
There we go. That's a black-backed puffback. That's a beautiful bird. We don't get to see them that often. Often call very quickly and move off. So for some of our birders, a black-back puffback, really, really wonderful bird to see. And they do puff their backs up, their feathers, and when they are displaying. But it's funny, the actual puff that they puff up is white. So I don't know why they're not called the white-back puffback, but they call the black-backed puffback. And that's it, calling. Wonderful bright red eyes. And then Yala just alarm called again. Now, they're still calling. Now, I was speaking about the Karula and her cubs, and if this is the father. And why I say I'm not too sure. Well, okay, I wasn't here when that female was mating with the male, so I'm not sure who she was mating with, but. He is the dominant male leopard in this area, so it would make sense that she would have mated with him. However, I have seen females move out of their territory, even into other females' territories, to go and find a dominant male to mate with. And that's the interesting thing with leopards and their mating. So I'm just having a look at the Zinyali. You can probably hear them calling. So that's with leopards mating. The females are the ones that instigate the mating. They will go and look for a dominant male. So they'll move out of their territory. They'll move through. Those flies are really bothering it. They'll move through other territories to go and look for a dominant male. Star Wish, you want to know if he can run with that full belly, how fast can he run? I'll tell you, this leopard is lightning fast, even with that full belly. If he wanted to, he could cover a distance of about 22 to 24 meters per second on a charge. Now, to give you an idea, let me think, how can I explain that better? So, look, if he got up and charged, the distance we are sitting from him now, he could close that within a second. So, if I had to click, I mean, it'll be a up, boom, and yeah, that quickly. That's how quick it would be. Incredibly fast and still just as agile as if he had an empty stomach. Alright, well, he seems very comfortable in the shade here. We're going to sit with him for some time, see what he gets up to if he does decide to move. Let's head to Brent and get an update on that beautiful female and her cubs.
Well, they're on the move. And it looks like Karula is deciding to take us on another interesting drive through some of the thickest areas of Djuma. What has Shongi seen? She's seen something, or she runs. Oh, she's chasing a squirrel or a dwarf mongoose. She's after a dwarf mongoose. That mongoose was much faster than the squirrel yesterday. But let's try and get a bit closer. That dwarf mongoose was definitely actually, let's say probably 10 seconds ahead of the squirrel from yesterday that they caught. And it escaped without too much difficulty. Obviously found a bolt hole somewhere. Now, mongoose, if you've got any sense, stay down. These cubs are killers. They'll get you. Is that one too fast for you, little madam? They are lots of fun at this age. Busy little bodies. Where did the mongoose go? And then, there we go, there's the other two. Hosanna, you're a bit slow on that one. You didn't even see the mongoose. Oh, Karula's been spotted, or actually I think it was Hosanna who was spotted by sounds like some impala. I can't see them, but they can see the leopards. They're snorting away. Now, if Karula keeps on this line, this is the only sort of open, glady area through this particular block. There are some pans around, but if I remember correctly, they're all dry. So the closest water to here would probably be Chele Pan, but they're not heading in that direction. She's heading south. So then the next closest water would be around Twin Dams. Don't go that way, Queen Karulski. Yes, come back. Stay in the gladed area. I don't mind you on the edge of the gladed area, as long as you're not taking us through the thickets like yesterday. Of course, being Karula, she's probably not going to listen to me. Tracy is wondering what stops Karula venturing into other parts of Kruger or the Sabi Sands like some of the other animals. Well, Tracy, she's got a very set territory that's surrounded by other leopards, and if she were to wander into one of those other leopard territories, it would be looking for a fight or an argument. The only time female leopards venture out of their home territory is to mate, and they'll sometimes move 5 territories over, and the reason for this is to try convince all the boys that they're the dad. Okay, now where are we gonna go? Let's just try. So I'm just trying to pick a way through all these trees that have been pushed over by the elephants. And actually, we're going to pass almost the exact same spot where the joint, I suppose we're going to have to attribute it as a joint kill yesterday, Hosanna and Shongile and the not so positive squirrel. Oh. Okay, there they are. I'm going to have to do some maneuvering to keep up with them as they head into some thickets. And you can just see them disappearing there. So while I try to keep up with the royal family of Djuma, let's jump off the vehicle and onto foot with Jamie.
We've been moving through some very dense vegetation at the moment, trying to find ourselves some bushwalk signal and having a little bit of an academic debate about which particular tree we have found. And we found ourselves with a disagreement. Herbert denies that it's a zebrawood, and I'm inclined to trust him. Zebrawood is a type of tree with a very, very solid spines. It's basically a flat tire tree, and I'm trying to find you an example because that's another good tree that would work quite well for a barricade, essentially, for a kraal. Kraal. That's what we would call a barricade made of thorns, would be a kraal. So I've been looking for some nice trees to add to that collection. Unfortunately, we're just in the wrong type of area. We're right on the slope that leads down to what we call a drainage line. It's where the water moves through an area, trails through an area like a river, but it doesn't really flow in the same way that a river does. Right, we'll go and see what we can find. I still haven't found a bushman's grape either, but we'll try and move swiftly on from that. At some point, I'm going to find you a bushman's grape. Uh-oh, there's a tree there. There's a very, luckily not so thorny tree. It is a thorn tree. It is in fact an acacia. And Andre nearly managed to, it's a paper bark or paper, you can see the bark, the flaky bark moving off it. This is not the best example of one. It is a paper bark acacia. Jean-Ray nearly went right backwards over it. No. I thought about that date, and in fact I was thinking, I nearly said it, but then I wasn't 100% certain as to whether or not that was the case. But I about for other tubers, you can actually take them, and you can in fact even take a portion of them and replant them and care for them, and as a result they will grow into another plant. And you wanted to know if the same thing would work for a bushman's grape. I think so. In fact, I'm almost certain that it would, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to try and find out. But most tubers, to me, are almost certain that it would regrow. Most tubers will.
Welcome back, everyone. He's still sitting with Tingana. He hasn't moved too much. Still very comfortable in the shade. And he's very clever. He's got the shade, and we're sitting in the sun a little bit. But look at that carcass. It's covered in flies at the moment. There is still a little bit of meat left there. I mean, I'm sure later on he may try and feed on more of that carcass. It looks like there is still parts of the legs that he could get some meat, but covered in flies. So I'll try and get most of those away. It's incredible how quickly the flies find these carcasses and go and sit on them. We saw that buffalo too, covered in flies. Can you see the nyala now? The nyala's still hanging around. Stopped alarm calling though. And we may get another 1 or 2 calls just now. This male's still panting heavily, just enjoying the cool sand. And I'm very jealous. There's actually nothing better than going and lying in a drainage line and resting. Probably very, very comfortable. It's quite relaxing to be able to sit with an animal like this and especially on a morning like today. Alright, so Sandra, James, and many of our other viewers, you all say that Tingana is believed to be the father of Karula's cubs because she was mating with him, and he has mated with a number of other females in the area, so it would make sense. And like I said, well, I mean, we can never be 100% sure, but if the time frame is correct, if when they were mating, if 3 months later she gave birth, chances are he probably is the father then. Well, yeah, a leopard gestation period is about 90 days, so 3 months, just a few days shorter than lions. Maybe 10 days shorter than a lion gestation period. As I was saying, it's just so peaceful at the moment. Birds calling in the distance, the sun warming everything up, even though the buzz of the flies are behind us, but it's still very peaceful down here in this drainage line and very comfortable. It's interesting to see how the male leopard also constantly looks around. He's still aware and still alert of what's going on around him. Oh, look at that. He is magnificent, isn't he? Really, really magnificent animal. Michael, you want to know what causes his stomach to expand like that after he eats? And do humans have that ability? Michael, I must be honest, I think if you had to see me after a Christmas lunch or a big meal, my belly definitely expands a bit. But I think, no, all that it is it's just full. That's 100% what it is. He's just full. These animals, when they do feed, they gorge themselves on meat. They'll eat as much as they possibly can until they can't eat anymore, and they'll go and rest, and then they will they'll go and feed again later when they're hungry again. But they just constantly feed until those bellies are full. See, the same with lions. I've seen male lions where they literally waddle because their bellies are so full. So let's sit at Tingana a little bit longer. Now, we had that Inyala alarm calling not far from us, but Jamie apparently has got them on foot.
We've got them very, very close on foot. And this is the wonderful thing about Nyala in this area, is that they have become very accustomed to people moving about in their space. They often come and visit the lodge, and you'll probably find that these Nyala are ones that we see regularly around the houses and around the various lodges that are in this area. And as a result, they've learned that us on foot isn't a threat to them. And it's also, of course, in our behavior. If I were to start walking towards them now, if I were to start trying to hide and creep behind the various trees, they'd immediately see that body language as a threat. And because most animals instinctively see our bipedal form, in other words, our standing form, as a predator, because of course they've been hunted for centuries and centuries by human beings, looking for food as part of the natural ecosystem. I'm not talking about trophy hunting, I'm talking about as a natural part of the ecosystem out here. So their instinct comes through, but there's the matter of learned behavior. Just like we were talking about with the Nkuhumas and the fact that they are comfortable with us on foot now, Karula's very, very comfortable with us on foot. Exactly the same thing applies to those Nyala that have now moved off. and disappeared. But that's the nice thing about being on bushwalk, is it gives you a whole different set of challenges, and it's not... Approaching the big animals on foot is wonderful, and it's something that it gives you an exhilarating rush that you won't get necessarily from the vehicle. But the bushwalk is also about appreciating our part in this ecosystem and the way in which we play a role. And also just a constant reminder just how... what's the word? Almost not pathetic, because it's not pathetic, but just how much we've lost our senses of hearing, our senses of smell, how much sooner the animals realize that we are there, long before we've even noticed that they are. They've heard us coming from a very, very long way away. I'm listening to a bird. It is a wren warbler, and I'm trying to see if I can see it. It's going to be very difficult, though. It's just a lovely sound. Just a moment ago, I saw a millipede, and I'm trying to find it again for you. I got distracted by the Inyala. Where did you go, little millipede? We also found a zebra wood, but unfortunately we didn't have signal. That was a tree I was trying to show you. And Herbie was absolutely right. The tree that we were not arguing over, the tree that Steph and Herbie were arguing over, was in fact not a zebra wood. I'm not going to kick that over necessarily. That is a perfect snake hidey hole. But I was trying to find a zebra wood to try and find you exactly what would be good for use in the make of a barricade. And unfortunately, now we've had to move out of that area. I won't be able to show you that particular zebra wood. But we'll keep searching for something like that so that we can give you a really good example. Otherwise, we'll just keep searching for the other little things on bushwalk. Let's see what else we can find. The insects are in hiding this morning. It's interesting because usually after just a little bit of rain, you get all kinds of amazing things popping out. But obviously it's already got to that point where it is very, very warm. And I think the insects have all gone into hiding. We did see a tortoise that was this big though. Unfortunately, we didn't have signal, but it was this big. And probably only about a year old. And that would be it would have been lovely to get on camera because it was so incredibly tiny and rapid moving. Once it realized that we weren't out to try and pick it out of its shell, it went running along on its little legs. It was so sweet. Incredibly, incredibly cute. So I failed to find you bushman's grape, and I failed to find you a zebra wood or a barricade, a sickle bush. But that's just because we're also in the wrong areas for those sorts of plants. But we will keep looking. And a very good morning to Dale. Lovely to hear you back on our drives and walks once again. You wanted to know because the other day I actually was covered in ticks, and Jandre and I were just discussing the fact that we were both tick infested after we got back from our walk. You want to know if the ticks actually bother the animals that they're on, if they do them any harm or if they're just an irritation. They can do them harm, but usually not to a healthy animal. So if your animal is perfectly healthy, then it will be able to, it'll have a normal healthy load of ticks. It will fight off any kind of infection from them, and it will be absolutely fine. When an animal's immune system goes down, when they start to feel particularly unwell, then they will, in that situation, then the tick count will increase. So you'll get lots and lots of ticks on them. And that's actually an indicator that an animal isn't feeling all that healthy, is the fact that it's covered in ticks. And they're crawling all over them, and they're clearly not able to cope with it. Typically, a healthy animal will be absolutely fine. They don't carry Lyme disease in the same way that ticks in other areas do. They don't carry Lyme disease. They are quite harmless to the humans. To people, they transmit a disease called tick bite fever. It feels like a bad flu. And your glands go up here, under your arms, in your groin, and you immediately start to feel like you've got really nasty flu, a high fever, you don't feel very well at all. Jandre's had it recently. When did you have it?
No.
Did you not have it?
I had it twice, but not recently.
Had it twice, but not recently. Brent's had it recently. Brent's had it 3 times in the last year or so. I haven't had it in years. But once you fight it off, you can just take a very simple course of an antibiotic known as doxycycline, But once you fight it off, you do actually tend to have a resistance to the one of the strains of the rickettsia bacteria that causes tick bite fever. Right, we're going to carry on and see what else we can find out here for you on foot. And while we do, let's go back over to one of the vehicles to see what they're up to.
So we're still sitting with Tingana, this beautiful big male leopard, and we've had such a exciting morning. It's been amazing. All the lions calling this morning, not far from camp, and then finding that male and female, and then Brent finding Karula and her 2 cubs again, and now this big male. So it's definitely been a cat morning for us, which is really, really fortunate, because we know how hard it is to find them at times, and when we are tracking and looking for them, it's not always easy. It's amazing. I've followed and tracked many male leopards in my time guiding, and occasionally, I mean, if they don't want to be seen, it's incredible. They will disappear into a little thicket, and you will not find them. So he's very relaxed with us around here. Hasn't really reacted to us at all. And fortunately, my voice isn't bothering him too much by the looks of things. So maybe he's just too comfortable. His belly's full, cool sand. Red-chested cuckoo just flew over us. You may have heard it. Soraya, the biggest threat to a solitary male leopard would potentially be another leopard, and that's really it. Obviously, they've got to be careful that they don't bump into lions. If lions find a male leopard, or any leopard for that matter, but if they find a male leopard, they'll most likely attack him purely because it's competition, not for food necessarily, but just for competition. However, the biggest threat for a male leopard would probably just be another male leopard coming into the area, challenging for his territory. And I mean, usually what happens is they put on a display. These male leopards, if they do fight, if they do come into contact with another leopard, what they do is they walk up and down, and they try and intimidate one another. So they'll bare their teeth, they'll growl, they'll a scent mark, they salivate a lot. So it's a big show to try and intimidate the other one. However, it often does result in an actual fight where they do tackle and bite and scratch one another. And I have seen it before, and it's incredibly violent. But usually one or two tussles are enough to then split them up, and the loser will quickly know that he's not strong enough to compete with the dominant male, and he'll probably move out. But at times you might get an injury that is bad enough to cause death, or bad enough that the leopard's unable to hunt and then dies from starvation. That can happen. It doesn't happen that often, though. Generally, if they do fight, you'll get a few scratches and bites and scars. They'll move off, and then fairly soon they'll heal up quickly. As we've seen with that big male lion Mfumo, one of the Birmingham males, who had that nasty scar on his face and that nasty gash, and that healed up very, very quickly and very well. So these big cats do have the ability to heal amazingly well. But I would say the biggest threat would be another male leopard. There's a cacophony of bird calls going on around us. There's woodland kingfisher. There's a Levaillant cuckoo that just started calling. There's a red-chested cuckoo. There are francolins calling. The black-backed puffback. Wonderful to sit and listen to all these birds around us. The fly's still bothering him. The guy's trying to kick them away. Every now and then the paw comes up and... Oh, now this leopard's lying down, but Jamie's got something that's on the move. Let's go and have a look what it is.
Well, lots of things on the move, but the thing that's interesting me the most is not actually on the move, and that is this tiny, tiny little Europlectes scorpion. And this is now the second baby scorpion that we found on these bushwalks, or at least that Herbert has found for me on these bushwalks. He has such a knack for locating the smaller things. And just to give you a sense of scale, can I slide my finger in there, Jean-Ray? Please don't sting me, little one. Please don't sting me, that will hurt a lot. There we go. Sorry, I can't actually hold my finger still. There. Gives you a sense of scale as to just how tiny this little scorpion really is. It's no bigger than my fingernail. And this little scorpion, much like the one that we saw a couple of days ago, has probably only just left the safety of Mom's back. Termite bothered him. Hey, little one. Absolutely minuscule. We know which family it's in. It's almost certainly in the Europlectes family. It's not in the boo family. Its body's not quite the right shape. But if you can, have a close look at just how tiny those pincers are. Tiny, tiny, tiny little things compared to a relatively fat tail. Okay, we're going to have to send you over into one of the vehicles. The bushwalk camera's just fallen into a couple of pieces. You having fun there, Jean-Ray?
Oh dear, oh dear. It sounds like the camera's falling apart in the bushwalk. I wonder what they're up to. But luckily we're still sitting with the leopard, which is just a massive bonus. There's some dung beetles flying around here too. You know that Franklin calling. Now, these animals and these cats, and especially this male leopard, look so relaxed and so calm and peaceful, and you'd think you could get out and go and stroke him or pet him, but I guarantee you now you cannot. This leopard would be up in a heartbeat, and you know, leopards in certain areas, and when they do feel threatened, and that they can be potentially very dangerous. They are very powerful cats, and you would not want one to get aggressive towards you or feel threatened, because if they do defend themselves, they are going to cause you some serious damage. I've seen some video clips of leopards harming people, so you do have to still be very careful and respectful. Michael, you want to know why male leopards have that dewlap? So one of the theories that I know and that I can think of is to protect the throat from when they do fight with other leopards. Protect the vital areas around the neck and the throat, so that there's a bit of thicker skin there, so if they are bitten around that area, it doesn't harm them as much. Very much like male lions have got those big manes to protect the head and the throat. Alright, I'm going to sit here a few more minutes with Tingana and then probably leave him in peace. But in the meantime, let's head back to Jamie. I think they fixed their camera.
While we were fixing the camera and the problem with the camera, we heard a very strange, very peculiar bird call that sounded initially to me like a dog was barking, and then it sounded like a monkey was alarm calling, and then I realized after a split second that it was in fact a bird, and in fact this tawny eagle perched on top of a dead tree surveying the landscape around him. One of our larger eagle species, one of our larger eagle species, and definitely one that we see relatively regularly. And I think this is one that lives around Impala Road, because I've seen this eagle on more than one occasion. And it's relatively certain that it's the same one, or at least one of two, since they do live together in breeding pairs. They go off and they hunt separately and they spend their days separately. And off he goes. They're that characteristic light underbelly, or lightly coloured underside of the tawny eagle. Now, a little bit earlier, I was trying to talk to you about that scorpion. And I was trying to explain, especially for our new viewers. Do you mind? I was trying to explain a little bit for our new viewers exactly how we determine the different families of scorpions. You don't have to go into the specifics of the species, and in fact with a little one like that, it's almost impossible to tell because they're not necessarily displaying their adult characteristics. They're not necessarily exactly the right color that they might be otherwise. Chances are Jean was right when he called it as an olivaceous, Europlectes olivaceous, just in terms of the habitat. Now scorpions, the difference in terms of the different families is we get thick-tailed and thin-tailed scorpions. That's the most basic distinction. And you get a little bit in between, but for the most part, that's your basic distinction. And thin-tailed scorpions don't use their venom as much as the thick-tailed scorpions do. Therefore, they have very, very large pincers compared to their tail size. So in a big scorpion, in a big thin-tailed scorpion, its pincers can be this big, this long, and this thick, and its tail will be minute. It'll be that thick. Whereas in the thick-tailed scorpions, of course, a much, much thicker tail, it hardly needs to use its pincers because its venom is so potent, and as a result, it's got very underdeveloped pincers, just like that little scorpion that we saw. And it's not because it's a baby, because although they don't necessarily display their adult coloring, they have the exact adult shape that they will have for the rest of their lives. They are born in exactly that way. And what will happen is they're born and they all climb onto their mother's back. So scorpions actually, in terms of the arachnids, the arthropods, it's actually a relatively good mother. Arachnid is a spider, obviously. They are relatively good mothers. They look after their little ones that are sitting and crawling on their backs for a couple of days before the little ones molt a couple of times and grow, because that's how they grow. They molt their exoskeletons and they grow a little bit, and then they'll carry on like that. So that was almost certainly a Europlectes, which is the type of family that has thick tails. The other type of scorpions that have the thick tails, of course, are the Parabuthus scorpions, which are the only ones that are actually dangerous to human beings. Europlectes hurt, but Parabuthus are the ones that can actually cause medically significant symptoms: shaking, neurotoxic venom. You don't feel particularly well, and you should see a doctor, and especially if it's a child or an older person. And Bob, yes, absolutely. That's one of the ways that we often go out and show scorpions. You wanted to know because apparently the scorpions that you have in Arizona shine a glow when you shine a black light on them. The exact same thing applies to our scorpions in this area. And we often, at night, because scorpions are generally nocturnal creatures, we go out at night with a UV light and you go and you shine, and that way you get to know just how many scorpions are living in your immediate vicinity. It's sometimes a little bit of an unsettling thing for guests if this is their first time in Africa to see all of these scorpions lighting up all around them. But it is a really nice way of finding them and looking at them. And you have to make sure when you're doing something like that, that UV light is not too concentrated, because you can actually hurt them a little bit. So it needs to be a proper and official sort of scorpion light or a black light, nice and dispersed rays, because that fluorescence that's coming through is producing heat. So if you've got a really concentrated beam of black light and you're shining it on them, you'll notice that they start to wriggle and they start to get uncomfortable, and some spots glow brighter, glow brighter than others, and that's because you're hurting the scorpion. It's getting really, really hot. It's actually burning them. But a nice diffused UV light works absolutely perfectly, and we've done it quite a few times with our scorpions. We need to do it more at night now. We're going to start seeing them more and more frequently as we go into the summer months, and they're going to start moving about for catching termites. Alright, going on to other nocturnal creatures, let's go and see what Tingana's up to.
So he's moved a little bit, everyone. He's sitting up and he's yawned once or twice. So I'm trying to see, maybe we're lucky we get another yawn and maybe he decides to move. Let's see, he may just change positions, or he may head up to the carcass. I'm not sure when he last fed. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But I'm not promising anything. Let's just have a look and see what he decides to do. Oh, there we go. So he did stand up just like we thought, and he did move, but a few centimeters, and he's laid down again. Probably just looking for some cool sand again. Oh well, what a wonderful sighting of this male leopard though. It was really, really fantastic spending time with him. It's always special when you get to see these big males. Look at the light on his eyes, those big paws. Basically just a muscular cat. Fantastic. Such a wonderful sighting. I'm so glad we got to see him and he was out in the open for us. I think we're going to leave him now, let him rest, and we're going to continue, make our way back towards camp and see what else we can find before the end of the show. What a wonderful sighting. Hope you've all enjoyed it with us. I'm going to try to get out of here now. Why don't we head over to Brent and see if we can get an update from him on those leopards.
So Karula has left the cubs in a Tamboti thicket where we can't even see them, but I think it's because they ruined a possible 3 hunts while she was moving with them, so she's left them in a thicket and now she's hunting. And the good news is she has left them on Djuma. So she's moving down the edge of this little river system that runs between Mamba Road and Leadwood Road. It's possibly my favorite area in Djuma. In magnificent trees here and this wonderful little drainage system and a good place to hunt. We've actually found Karula with quite a few kills in this area. Now, without the troublesome cubbies, she's going to probably have a lot better chance at catching something. And the really good news is that she left the cubs on Djuma, so hopefully she catches something else on Djuma and doesn't go down to the south. I mean, we're not too far from the southern boundary, but at the moment she's heading west inside Djuma, parallel to the boundary on this little river system, looking for Nyala, bushbuck, duiker. Okay, let's try and move again. And we get through there. Yes. Might lose a bit of skin to a thorn tree, but what's a bit of skin? It grows back. Now, isn't this been an incredible live safari? For those of you who might not have known, this is 100% live. You're enjoying the African bush at the exact same time as us. And if you do have any questions, hashtag safariLIVE or questions@wildearth.tv. Oh, it looks like we'll get through here without even arguing with the thorn tree, which is quite pleasant. I'm very interested to see where she goes next. Now, I don't know how long we're going to be able to stick with her. If she goes straight down in the river system here, there's some incredibly thick areas. Can you see her? She's laid down in the shade, so we're going to move around to get a good view of her. While we do that, Jamie's got an 8-legged beastie to show you.
While Brent has shuffled around to get a much clearer view of the Queen of Djuma, and how lucky are we that she's spent the last 2 days with us on Djuma, Herbert has found a pair of what look like to me violin spiders. Now, that's the interesting thing about violin spiders, is that you often find them in twos. So there's one here, and I'm not sure, Jean-Ray, if you can see the second one at the back over there. A little bit tricky to see it right there, but you can just see there's the body of the second spider. And that's very unusual, the fact that they are usually found in pairs. In fact, nobody really necessarily knows why that may be. It's not necessarily a male and a female. And generally, spiders are solitary creatures, and even with males and females, the males have to make very, very tentative approaches to the females. They tend not to stay in her proximity or in close proximity, or else they risk getting eaten. Now, a violin spider looks a lot like a daddy longlegs. So many of you might have been looking at that and thinking, oh, that's a daddy longlegs. I don't know how many of you are watching. I don't know if that term, does daddy longlegs actually, is that a spider that you know of around the world? Or is that just a South African term? Because now that I think about it, daddy longlegs sounds very, very South African somehow. Daddy longlegs. Now, there's this old wives' tale that a daddy longlegs has the most potent venom of all of the spiders, but because its jaws are too weak to pierce the skin, it's not dangerous. That's actually complete nonsense. A daddy longlegs is completely harmless. They've tested the venom. They don't actually have any kind of venom that makes any sort of an impact on an adult human being. So no problems there. This violin spider, on the other hand, is a very dangerous spider. It's got a cytotoxic venom. They're not aggressive spiders. You know, most spider bites happen accidentally, but they are active hunters, so they do move around at night, and as a result, they could potentially accidentally encounter a human being, particularly when we're asleep, and their bite is highly cytotoxic. It's a cytotoxic venom, so it's cell-destroying, and it makes you... It will start off as a relatively painless bite. In a couple of hours it starts to itch, it starts to burn, and a couple of days later it's turned black. There's a very big risk of a secondary infection, and it does ultimately potentially create a hole or a very deep scar in one's flesh. And some people have had nastier violin spider bites than others. It just depends upon whether or not it becomes infected. But there are, of all of the bites that you would like to avoid, this is probably the highest on the list. They have put people that I know in hospital in the past, just in terms of that really nasty secondary infection. And there was one last thing I was going to say. Oh, yes, scorpions are arachnids. I'm sorry, I don't know. As I said it, I realized I was being completely ridiculous. So spiders, scorpions are arachnids. Both of them are. Although Jean-Ray raised a very good point that we talk about arachnophobia, which I might have just promoted by talking about how dangerous the bite of the spider is, but that we only think of arachnophobia in terms of spiders. One big difference with your daddy long legs is the thickness of the body. Okay, so Jeffrey, Judy, Maureen, and Josh, and many others saying you do have daddy long legs. Sorry, I wasn't sure. I suddenly had this thought that perhaps it might have been something that I was making up, not making up, that might have just been a South Africanism. I'm glad that it isn't a South Africanism. I'm glad that, because I think it's a brilliant name, daddy long legs. Right, speaking of daddy long legs, we're going to stand on ours and start making our way on to see what else it is we can find. I do enjoy those spiders. They are particularly interesting ones. Oh, you're right. Chandre's been crouched down with the camera the whole time, so his legs are just waking up. Are they pins and needling? You're going to wobble and fall down. You're right.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay, good. It's because your giant calf muscles cut off your circulation, Chandre. Chandre's calves have their own gravitational field. It amazes me that those sorts of old wives' tales, like the one about the daddy longwigs, actually take hold and become something that is somehow fact. And SRT watching on Periscope. You want to know if we have mosquitoes here? Yes, we do. That was putting it mildly. Chandre, do we have mosquitoes here? Yes, we have mosquitoes here. This has been, last year Steph described as the year of the fly. This year has been the year of the mosquito. I'm lucky, they don't seem to like me. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because Brent is often next to me, particularly obviously in the evenings, and I think they might just be more attracted because he produces more carbon dioxide because he's bigger. That incidentally is why more men tend to get malaria than women. Partly because women tend to be more cautious when they do visit areas like this, that they cover up right, they put their long sleeves on at night. Not that I do, but in theory, female guests tend to be more careful about that sort of thing. But also they're not as big, so they don't produce as much carbon dioxide, and the mosquitoes aren't as attracted to them as they might otherwise be. But yes, mosquitoes is something we know all about. We do get Anopheles mosquitoes, which is the type of mosquito that carries the malaria parasite. But it's relatively rare in these areas for people to get it. So visitors often take anti-malarials. We can't because we live out here. And first of all, it would do tremendous damage to our livers if we were to keep taking anti-malarials. It's fine for a short course. It's not so fine if you're taking it each and every single day. So we don't take anti-malarials, but we are cautious-ish. But because of where we are and the fact that we're isolated, it reduces the chance dramatically. And the only times that malaria really spreads in camps, in reserves, is where a staff member has been on leave and has come back with the malarial parasite, because mosquitoes don't fly much more than a couple of 100 meters around where they are, which means that the malarial parasite can't just jump onto a mosquito and travel all the way from one person in a local village all the way into a camp. But when people go on leave, they go into more populated areas, and that's when malaria starts to spread through various members of the camp. I've never had it, I've never got it, and I've had lots of mosquito bites in my time. I have been absolutely fine. Where did Herbie go? I should have been tracking him. He's gone off that way. While we go off in search of more fun things to look at on bushwalk and perhaps talk about more spiders and scorpions and things to give you frights, let's go over to Byron, who's got something much, much cuter.
And have a look at this beautiful little lamb, everyone. Wonderful. Lovely, lovely impala lamb. Looks fairly newborn. I wonder if this wasn't born last night. It's almost stretching the legs. The impala is such beautiful, beautiful antelope. Nah, I think this little lamb is a little bit older, maybe a few days already, but still staying very close to the female. And there it goes. It's hiding behind the thicket now. Well, at least we got to see it. Very, very beautiful. It's so wonderful seeing these little lambs out at the moment. Yeah, it's just moving off. Well, that was lovely. James, you want me to give you the call of a tawny eagle? Yeah, what is a tawny eagle? No, James, you're asking me these difficult birds. I need these melodious calls. I'm a bit better at that. Not these high-pitched screeching calls of eagles. No, I mean, let's see what a tawny eagle. It's like a. I think that's similar to a Wahlberg's eagle, though. That's maybe the Wahlberg's eagle. Let me see if I can quickly get the tawny eagle for you, and just hear what it sounds like. But yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do it, James. Let's have a look here. Okay, are you listening, everyone? See, I doubt I'll be able to do that. It's a I'm sorry, that's terrible. So that's why I don't do eagle calls, because I'm not good at them at all. No, oh dear. All right, well, what a wonderful morning. Hope you've all enjoyed it as much as we have. So exciting. Lions, a few carcasses, and a number of leopards. So that was really, really great. From myself and VM on camera, goodbye. Have a great day or evening wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you all later. Let's head over to Brent. And goodbye, everyone.
Well, Queen Karula's decided to take a break from the kids. Now, they've obviously been very busy this morning. She's left them probably about 100 meters from here in a Tamboti thicket, and she's decided before she continues on, she's going to have a snooze. A well-deserved snooze, keeping up with those two little rascals, bouncing, jumping, chasing, ruining her impala and Nyala hunts, being spotted by every animal in the bush, every squirrel alarm carrying, every franklin shouting. Nice peace and quiet for the Queen of Djuma now. Very positive for the Sunset Safari is that we've got Karula, and she's probably going to move from here. She's probably going to go hunting, but the fact that Hosana and Shongile are stashed in my favorite little dry riverbed in the whole of Djuma. Unfortunately, they're in a spot now where we can't actually see them. It's right in the center of a Tamboti thicket, but I'm sure those little rascals will start getting busy and bored and playing. So hopefully, if we can't find her on the Sunset Safari, we're definitely going to be able to find them, and hopefully she makes a kill, comes back, fetches them, and leads us to yet another incredible sighting. You can see it's quite hot. She's really starting to pant quite heavily. Oh, excuse me, I think I got the hiccups. Oh, where did those come from? Oh, hold the breath. There we go. It looks like she's found a nice shady spot here. The sun is going to move, and it will put that area in the heat, so to speak, and not too long. But I think she'll probably move off, maybe have a drink. Twin Dams is not far from where we are. And hopefully, between here and Twin Dams, there's a plethora of Inyala, Duiker, Bushbuck, or anything else that she might catch. What? Apparently there were amazing screenshots by all of you today, so well done. We did have quite a treat with them playing King of the Castle, running around, jumping, climbing trees. It has been an absolutely splendid morning, and of course Byron had the authority and amber eyes. Now it sounds like I just heard that there are tracks of the pride around Philemon's Dip, so it looks like the Nkuhumas are back, maybe somewhere quite close to where Mfumo and amber eyes are lying, and of course Mr. Tingana lying up in the Maracan drainage. So we're going to say goodbye. There's a few seconds left of drive, and here we go. So from Gert and myself. It's been absolutely splendid. We didn't manage to puncture ourselves too much on too many thorns, but even if we had, it would have been worth it to spend time with Queen Karula and those wonderful little cubs. Now, for the last few seconds of the drive, I'm going to let you rather look at the sleeping face of the Queen of Djuma, and isn't that wonderful? A little break. All mothers deserve a break from their children, and hopefully we'll have lots of action with all of them on the Sunset Safari. So, toodaloo for now.